Uh, Hello, my name is Seth Hoffman, and this is my iPhone user guide report. In this report, I tested 3 test subjects. One of them was subject Alpha. He's my dad. He's aged 49. He's very technologically knowledgeable. He recently built himself a Raspberry Pi computer. He's owned an iPhone for the past 10 years, I believe. And he just knows his way around these types of things. He used to fix iPhone screens for people, all sorts of things. My second subject was subject Beta, who's my mother. She's aged 47. She is nowhere near as good as my dad is at technology. In her own words, she is very technologically illiterate, but I was still able to use her as one of my test subjects because she also owns an iPhone, and she has for several years. Subject Gamma is my sister. She's aged 15, and she knows the iPhone systems well because she's a teenager and she's had an iPhone for, I believe, 2 years now, but she doesn't know them as well as Subject Alpha, which makes sense because he's had it longer. I asked my subjects 10 questions. The questions were simple, they were found in the guide, all of them, none of them had to be off their base knowledge, but the questions were, how do you turn the iPhone screen on? How do you adjust the volume of the phone? How do you turn dark mode on or off, or light mode on or off, depending how you look at it? How do you access the camera from the lock screen of the phone? This one and the next one, how do you take a screenshot, have different answers based on which type of phone they have. How do you lock and unlock the orientation of the screen? How do you remove apps from the home screen? How do you use voice to text, or dictation as it's sometimes known? How do you zoom in on a picture? And finally, the last one, which is a bit of a curveball I thought I would throw in there. How do you turn on government alerts? In this, I used a very simple pass/fail system. They either made 100 or 0 based on question by question, of course. And the way I determined this was based on time. If a subject could find the answer to each question in 1 minute or less, then they passed the question. Obviously, it wasn't 1 minute for all 10 questions, it was 1 minute per question. Now, if a subject tried to answer a question with their own knowledge but not using the guide, then they failed. Now, I did make this known before they started so there would be no confusion, and each subject was given a short introductory period to familiarize themselves with the manual because since it's not a physical copy, it is a PDF file within the iPhone itself. In the Apple Books app, it took some time for specifically subject Beta to figure out how to flip the pages and how to use the table of contents and so forth. It's very surprising, my results. Everyone passed every question, though they did use different methods. Subjects Alpha and Gamma simply skimmed through the guide and found the answers they needed. There were nice pictures there that helped them find what they needed, but with them being familiar with the iPhone's operating system already, they did this fairly quickly. Subject Beta, however, she took more time to look closely at each question, but since she reads remarkably quickly, having been a teacher for the past 25 years, she was able to make quick work of the questions once she figured out how to turn the pages of the virtual manual and use the pictures to her great benefit. This is my visual representation of all the answers. Obviously the gray means they passed. I was going to use red if they failed, but obviously that wasn't necessary because none of them failed any of the questions because the user guide is so easy to use. Now, the reason I chose the iPhone user guide is because it's the one guide that I figured it would be easiest for my entire family, who are my test subjects, to have access to. They all use iPhones as their everyday cell phone, and they've done so for several years, so they already had some base knowledge of the operating system. Another reason I chose this guide is because the manual is free to everyone on the iPhone. And so I wouldn't have to buy anything for them, and they wouldn't have to buy anything just to participate in the trial. And so with money not being exchanged, it just made it much simpler. The iPhone User Guide is a very good manual, very good technical document. It was very easy for even someone as my mother, subject beta, who is not very good with technology, to deal with and find what they needed quickly, within a minute. Honestly, if every technical document was this good, the world would be probably a better place. I think this document all companies should strive for the level of ease of access that this document shows. That's my presentation. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.